and welcome to Grace for the Grind. Grace for the Grind is a discipleship tool for the busy believer. We want to be a place where we can gather together for practical encouragement and for honest conversations as we follow Jesus together. My name is Nathan. I'm one of the pastors here at Mount View Baptist, and I want to welcome you again to Grace for the Grind.
It's like season 2.
Season 2 something.
Are we calling it this?
I don't know. We have gone 6-8 weeks without recording, and I can say I have honestly missed this.
Yes.
Not for anything else other than it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
And y'all get to see us, but welcome. It's after Christmas.
Yep.
We have some delicious coffee, don't
Yes.
we?
Yes.
We have some Jingle Bell Java.
From right here in Hickory.
Right here in Hickory from Tasteful Beans.
Yep.
Joshua Jordan gave us this. We need to have an asterisk right now about our coffee. We have a little bit of a dilemma, don't we?
We sure, yeah.
What would you describe it as?
We just
Steve?
like different things.
Well, that's not the dilemma I'm talking about.
Go on.
We have a lot of coffee.
Oh, yeah. We have. So we're recording this second week of January. I'm assuming it'll post into the month or February or something. So our listeners are very kind and very generous.
So
and
loving.
Given us multiple bags queued up in the hopper. So for the sake of stewardship, I mean, like, honestly, we would say, like,
In my drawers.
we're good. We're good for a bit on the coffee, but thank you.
We love that those of you who have donated, we're going to have them on here at some point.
Yeah.
It might take us a couple weeks to be able to get all of them.
We'll get there. We got 4, I think, to go still.
Unless we need to amp up our high blood pressure and drink coffee.
I don't have
so
high blood
much.
pressure.
Oh, I do.
Mine's
So
at
I've
the
had
top
it.
end of normal. The cholesterol was the problem for me.
You're almost there. But,
good.
I do. So I should not drink that much coffee. But I appreciate you all that have donated to us. We love it. It tastes amazing. We will let you know when we'll need it in the future.
Can I brag about my new Grace for the Grind?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about
I'm going
that.
to show this to, I think, this camera over here. I love styrofoam cups. I think they're illegal in like 9 different states now. But Christina Smith, listener, former staff member, got this for me. Grace
An
for the
official
Grind.
one.
Look at that.
An official
You can buy it at
branded.
the merch store. If you're listening to this, you need to go watch the audio version so you can see our fresh merch. that
I
was
never thought
dropped.
about that. This would be terrible for
Can we
those
just-
who are
Can we
listening.
just write? It's just a styrofoam cup with Grace for the Grind written in black Sharpie.
I feel like we should have padded walls right now. And that's just, this is actually a podcast where we're not talking to anyone. Just,
It's amazing.
It's Creed thoughts. So few of you all will understand that reference. Steven, I got a question for you.
Yep.
Our intro question, one of my favorite moments, because I don't tell Steven what we're going to ask right now.
I forgot we
And
do this.
so, Steven, if you could name a podcast, the title of a podcast that you would not listen to,
Ooh.
what would be the title of the podcast?
Okay, it's easy. I know this. I mean, it's a real podcast.
This
that
is a real
I
one.
already don't listen to, but I quote all the time as if I listen to it. It's a podcast called
Grace for the Grind.
Such a long pause. No. It's a podcast called Lazy Genius. My wife listens to it. I think it's a book too. I think she's a Christian homemaker gal. Anyway,
Is this the one out of Morganton?
no clue.
No.
No,
Who
not
knows?
that one. No.
Okay.
She's just all about doing stuff that make like efficiency, keeping a tidy home easier or whatever. But I quote it, like I listen to it all. It's this total inside joke with me and Haley. But I'll quote it all the time. I've never listened to a word of it at all. So anytime I do anything around the house, like do the dishes or like if I go upstairs with something and come down with a hamper to do laundry, that efficient where you're like, we have stairs in our house and they're large stairs. There's no way they're to code. They're steep. So you got to kind of budget your trips up and down the stairs.
Post knee surgery, you definitely
Yeah,
have
I'll
to.
be like, Lazy Genius episode 3 taught me that. Never listened to it.
So is this like a Maria Kondo? Is that her name? The
Basically,
one that like,
yeah.
this doesn't bring me joy.
Yeah. Do you know she recanted all that stuff?
Did she really?
After she had her 3rd kid, she was like, never mind, this is dumb.
I mean,
Live in a messy house.
Yeah.
You have 3 kids.
yeah, it's always messy. Like we've had 2 vacuums break in the last month. Like because of the overuse of them. So like it's this thing doesn't bring me joy is the house at this point. So I don't understand or empathize with that at all. So I get it. I think mine would be. I don't know. It'd have to be something like dealing with emotional or like dealing with your own hyper emotions or something like that.
Okay.
If it's anything about feelings that dictate like how you should think, I'm on the other side.
Yes.
I'm oftentimes an emotional person. I'll wear them on my sleeves. So I'm like, nah, I want like truth and what I know to dictate stuff, not my emotions to dictate. I think we're naturally to that, where we allow our emotions to dictate how we feel about things. So I would like just turn that off. That's just not interesting. And the same thing, I don't like I said in a past one, I don't want to be thankful. I just want to get stuff. I don't want my emotions of thankfulness or whatever to dictate anything.
Yeah, I was going to push against this terrible theology you just threw.
I know, but that's me. And you didn't ask, I asked, and you just asked me what I asked. So that's probably one thing I wouldn't listen to.
There you go.
So, well, we want to kind of open up this season 2 or whatever this is, kind of talking about just something that's going on in the life of our church. It has been cool to see as we've been here at the church, this kind of passion or this change that happens whenever we have yearly focuses. Last year, what was our yearly focus?
Yeah, Beyond the Walls of the church. It was sort of in the post of Hurricane Helene, and in the several months after what still seems like a successful pastoral transition between Dr. Compton and myself. Yeah, it's been so good seeing him and Teresa just get to like sit here and be church members.
Such a blessing.
They're moving sections though. They sat in a different section this last week.
He knows what he's doing.
I know it.
He knows the trickery.
I know it. So I got to keep up with him. But they'll be traveling a bunch this year, but it has been really sweet to see him in equip classes and just them back attending.
Shout out to John. I don't think he watches this, but I wouldn't think he would. But
if a listener sees him, give him a fist bump from us.
Yes. Tell him how much we appreciate him.
So, I mean, this is it's a credit to him. This was a custom for his, for the 12 years he was here that, I feel led to continue. But after that transition, we go, okay, the church rightly turned inward during a season of transition as John didn't just up and decide to retire. He led from behind the scenes faithfully for years to get the church ready. And then after we make that baton pass, which I just put my hands on that baton yesterday in my office, I was moving some books around. So I love that. It still means a lot to me. We said, okay, let's not stay there though. That was good and right. And gosh, too many churches don't do that well, right? And so, but let's go outward. And then, Helene hit in October, end of September. And so we said, man, we got work to do. So we got beyond the walls of the church in ways that would just remain encouraging. But thinking about the core values of our church, that's where the annual points of emphasis to me come from, is just we're always going to do these same 4 things. We're going to love God. We're going to grow people. We're going to serve people and then reach people for Christ. But is there maybe one or the place where 2 of those meet that we feel like the Lord wants us to put a point of emphasis on? And so that's where the whole idea comes from. I like it. I don't know that I have 25 of these in me to do. I'll need some help, from our
team. Rinse and repeat and
maybe.
just kind of change or see whatever trends come up. But
yeah. But it is fun, really prayerfully, because we do this when we think about what books of the Bible to preach, right? We go, I'm not going to make up a sermon series for no reason. I'm going to go, what is it that our church needs to hear? Because whatever it is, I know God's word speaks to it. So that's how we decide what book to preach. We go, what themes, what points of emphasis do we need to highlight for our church, for this group of people, for this year? And the theme arises from that same sort of pastoral heart.
Yeah, and I think even sometimes those themes can come from what we're studying inside the preaching.
Absolutely.
It can come from, okay, we just finished this series of looking at the heroes of the faith of Hebrews 12, that by faith these people, and we're saying, hey, we want to become those people.
Yeah.
We want to
walked with God, kept in step with God, right? Yeah.
And so we're this year doing this theme of 1,200 steps. Now, Stephen, we need to talk about the fact that you really love the number 1,200.
This is apparently.
I pointed this out to him a long time ago that when he first came, he kind of said at our fall festival, we need to prepare for 1,200 hot dogs.
Yeah.
And then I remember the moment where you said, I'm thinking 1,200 steps, 2 steps for each people, each person. And you're like, I don't know. I just like the number 1,200. I was like, I know that you do.
Yes.
But it's the goal of saying we want 2 steps for each person.
Yeah.
Well, what is that next step in your faith? I guess first the question that I have to ask is, why does an initiative like this or a goal like this have to be there? Why shouldn't we just do this as a church naturally?
Yeah, and probably because it's not natural to us. I mean, is the short answer. The story I told at Leader Launch this last week in my breakout session started with basically like God, injected this desire to serve in me, not naturally, because somebody asked. And actually I told them no multiple times until I said yes to this mission trip I told a story about. And so it didn't come naturally to me. Maybe our church members are holier than I am or was,
Probably
but
so.
I just think most of us need something like this to help do what Hebrews talks about, where it tells us to spur one another on to love and good works. That's not necessarily always a gentle invitation, to spur one another on. I mean, that's like digging metal into the ribs of a horse to go, let's go. And so I think I've needed that before. I think our church needs that. And I think it helps make something very clear that I just think a lot of people sit in church every week and go, gosh, I ought to grow this year. And they just don't know how. And then I think they're ashamed to ask. And so making a tool like this very simple in a non-legalistic way to say, here's what some steps could look like. Wherever you're at, let's take two together. I just like the simplicity of that. I like the accessibility of it. We've got some people to challenge already on they've filled out their step plans and they want to do everything that they've already done again. And we go,
accountability is going to be a real hard part for pastors if we're going to hold to what people say they're going to do, which is such a blessing to have. Yeah. But go ahead.
So we go, great. Like, you've read the Bible already in a year. Wonderful. You've shared your faith with somebody else. Awesome. What new thing can you still do? Yeah. Because to not be able to answer that question is say something like, I'm done growing, or I'm done growing in new ways. Yeah. There's nothing new that I could do. There is not a new spiritual step the Lord has for me that I haven't already done. And I just refuse to believe that's the truth.
No, and I mean, there is this sense of progression that happens inside of a church. I think there's progression that happens as Christians. Certainly. I think progression looks different. I think sometimes it is a roller coaster where at times you are saying, okay, I am a faithful follower of Jesus. I'm doing all the things right. And there's times when you're in the valleys. There's times where you're upside down. You're saying, I need correction. I think there's a pace with this. And we'll talk about stories in a little bit. I was talking to someone that is doing the Bible reading plan with us that I just love doing. I kind of stole it from someone else, but I handpicked this out. I've been dreaming about doing this plan for a long time, where we're reading 3 chapters for 3 days in a row of the New Testament, reading through the Old Testament in 2 years, and then you read a Psalms and a Proverbs. And they said, okay, I like the New Testament. I like the Old Testament. I just really don't like doing the Psalms. Yeah. And this person, it was a very honest moment. When we were at the Leader Launch, there's 200 people in the room, and they're just being honest with me. They're like, I want to focus on the Psalms. I just don't like it, so I'm just going to skip the New Testament. I was like, well, don't do that. And I was like, how about we revitalize your thoughts of the Psalms? And this person was saying, I've just read Psalms so much, I just come with it with my own thoughts and everything. I was like, well, let's walk through how to look at it differently. Yeah. And so we outlined Donald Whitney's Praying the Bible, which I'm sure we'll talk about sometime inside of this, and saying, hey, what if you take this approach for your Psalms reading? She was like, well, I've never thought about that. Yeah. And she herself, she is a smart woman, and she just says, I'm not the smartest person. And we won't throw this person and say who it is, but she knows who it is. She says, I'm not the smartest person. I can't think through this stuff like this. And like, no. Let's think through it. Like where your mind goes and your ADD takes you is the best with this. Yeah. And, it was cool to see it just even in a room full of people just saying, okay, well, this is how to make scriptures come alive differently. Yeah. Yep. It was a benefit to me. It was for my own growth. So what are some stories that you have seen come from this kind of 1,200 steps? We're now 2-3 weeks into it. What are some stories that you've talked to some people or anything that we've seen in those reporting?
Yeah, I love some of the things people have submitted in already. I mean, some of them, like one of our teenagers said, hey, I've been in church my whole life basically, and I've never read the Bible 5 days in a row until now without somebody essentially making me.
My word.
I thought it was awesome. Like I just love the honesty of teenagers. Yeah. Like some of them haven't figured out that you can be deceptive yet, or that you're supposed to play this like church game. Yeah. And so I just love the Man, I love teenagers so
Yeah.
much. So that was super encouraging to me. I mean, I've referenced this one, I think, from a sermon, but one of our parents kind of involved in education said, like, I really want to help under that reach people category. I want to help get a Bible club in a school that has had one before, but doesn't have one right now. That's not one of the boxes you can check on the 1200 steps part of the website, but I love that is under that reach people category. And so that's just so encouraging. I mean, you've seen the same ones kind of come in. Any of them jump out to you as especially encouraging, or things that you're like, oh, that's awesome to see?
I mean, I think a lot. I've been encouraged by almost every one of them, and especially the follow-up conversations. One area that I think we kind of missed, but I think it's good that we missed it because we have that other. Someone was talking to me about there's no aspect of what the church is kind of called to do and what like deacons are called to do, caring for widows and for orphans.
Yeah.
And they're like, so they were calling me saying, hey, can we add that inside there? I'm like, well, just write it in. Like if you're doing it, but that's been beneficial for me of seeing like, wow, there's so many things that we can do and should be doing inside of our faith that we as professional Christians can't even get close to outlining what we think that those steps are.
Yeah.
But it's just saying this is where I'm at, and I'm going to take that next step of feeling uncomfortable. Why do you think we as Christians shudder at the pain of that next step sometimes?
I mean, I like the way we've grouped them and that there's sections, right? So it's the Bible, it's grow people, it's serve people, it's reach people. I think everybody who logs on there probably has one of those categories. They go, oh, that one's not me. Yep. Maybe the Bible just seems really daunting to them. And so they've started a million plans and finished none of them. Yep. So that one those kind of folks, I think, may default to something like serve. You've got probably a lot of the church interested in the grow category. They want more Bible intake, more classes, more studies, more books, more podcasts, whatever. And as far as a growing, we've got an evangelism training event we're doing here, How to Share Your Faith in March. They may not be as interested in that, And so I think we all have spots we're uncomfortable just because we're not completed in Christ yet, and we have different personalities that are disposed to different things. I think one of the big cautions I would give our church too is like the steps are a means to an end. Like everybody doing 2 steps and filling that out, and we meet the goal, and all the lights are lit up in the church, on the boards in the back where we're tracking these, is not the goal. The goal is for us to become more like Christ this year. Yeah. And the steps are a means to an end. Yeah. Our theme verse, Galatians 5:25, if we live by the Spirit, let's keep in step with the Spirit. So we said we're going to fall in line behind the Spirit's lead in our church, and everybody has a role to play. So it's going to take some getting uncomfortable, and we're just selfish. We like to be comfortable, and I'm speaking to myself. I'll give it a quick example. I have a love-hate relationship with Sky Zone.
Oh my. So many injuries, so many broken bones, so much loud craziness that my ADD can't
It's a lot of people. I'm always worried about one of my kids slinking off somewhere else, and so I'm trying to kind of keep an eye on them. I mean, Micah Jane would run off with anybody who asked her to, so it's just terrifying. She's the sweetest thing.
Love that girl.
But we're there for birthday parties a lot. It's great. They do everything for you. I get it. But we're there Sunday, and Sunday it's after, preaching twice. Got leader lunch that night. I'm a little bit tired. I bring a book with me almost everywhere I go anyway. I'm really excited about just kind of sitting in a corner and reading. And then I'm thinking about my reach goals for myself of how I want to share the gospel with somebody every month. How I want to have a certain amount of spiritual conversations with new people. And I've got specific people I'm praying. And I show up, and there's parents there that I know, not from church. There's families I know from school, from the ball field. I'm going, okay, like I could sit in a corner and read and nobody's going to know, or I could get over myself and my internal focus. Well, I'm tired. Well, I want it this time to recharge. It's like, okay, or I could pour myself out and make some connections here for an hour and see what God can do with those.
And really, that's kind of one of those, the aspects of we have this initiative, this focus or whatever, that's the goal, is to kind of separate and for us to analyze ourselves, to think about situations. Like I'm reading through a book, Spiritual Disciplines for the Christian Life. I read it every January by Donald Whitney.
So good.
One of just honestly kind of like a hero of the faith for me. A quote from his book, he says that in his personal and pastoral Christian experience, he can say, or I can say, I have never known a man or a woman who came to spiritual maturity except through discipline, godliness through self-discipline. And I think that's some of the things that's kind of the zeroing in that we want to do through these initiatives, is saying, well, what does this discipline look like? Yeah. It is hard. It is groaning, because in the end, we will look in. We talked about this off camera at one point, that one of the biggest failures is we light up the wall. We have 1,200 steps. We have 2,400 steps. We have 3,600 steps. And there is someone just says a simple question of what's next.
Yeah.
Well, this is it. Yep. This is the growing in the faith, the pursuing of God, the sanctification for the Christian believer. It's not that the growing of the faith stops at the end of this year. That gets to December 31st, and it's like, cool, we did it. Now there needs to be something else. So this is the lifelong pursuit of the Christian, just saying, where am I at? Where am I weak? And where can I grow? And I think that's the challenge, and it causes us to need to look internally. Yeah. And to say, where's the Lord positioning me? Yeah. And where's the Lord using me? And where does the Lord want to use me in 5 years?
Have you had any insights as you've seen some people's even just... So I messed up the first week of the sermon and didn't clarify. Our church ought to fill this form out right once they've done the steps. Because I didn't close that loop, several people in our church filled out them as essentially resolutions or spiritual growth plans. And then I thought, oh my gosh,
it was a missed opportunity.
Yeah, God just fixed my mess up, because this is great. Now I see all, so many different members' personalized spiritual growth. But that personalized piece has caught my eye of it's a lot of individual goals. Have you noticed this? I want to read the Bible, 5 times a day in a row, or do a month of the plan. I haven't seen a lot of communal goals come in. Joining a class. There's some.
There's some.
But it's been disproportionate in a way that I don't know that I would have anticipated.
I think the reason why is because we oftentimes in the beginning of the year, as I do the same thing, I self-assess at the beginning of the year. I'm saying, how do I want to change this next year? Yeah. And we become so inwardly focused. Yeah. And it's almost easier for us to say, I am going to internally change these things, but stepping into community, that's where the accountability steps in. Yeah. You can say you're lying and say, I'm doing a quiet time. I can say, hey, I'm doing this. I'm not getting anything from it. It's really hard to say, I'm going to serve in a place where I've never served before. Yeah. I'm going to be in a Sunday school class where there is accountability, where people are going to say, you haven't shown up in 6 weeks. What's going on? Yeah. I think that is a next level. I think obviously none of them are important than the other ones. And it is important for us to be inside of God's word.
100%.
Especially in our service. It's important for us to have that consistent quiet time. But I do agree with you. I mean, it has been kind of heavy on the just reading and not the actual doing.
So I think that might be my encouragement to our church would be, and Whitney talks about this a lot in his book, all of these disciplines, these habits of grace, as David Mathis calls them, right, have individualized components. So every morning I wake up and read the Bible. At church, we read the Bible. In all staff worship today, we read the Bible together. There's a communal element, though, too. And I think that might be my encouragement in our very individualistic Western society to consider the communal nature of these goals. So as you look through the 1200 Steps websites, there are things like go on a mission trip, or commit to a class, come on a Wednesday night equip session if you haven't done those things. Think about those things too. Because you hit the nail on the head, man, about the extra people means more accountability. Haley and I over the Christmas break always try to have a date night where we kind of assess the last year. We look forward. That requires even vulnerability within the person I feel the most safe with all the time, to go, hey, here's where I think I came up short as a husband this year. That's different than me just journaling stuff. I keep this little journal with me and write down stuff all the time.
Very John Compton of you now. This is a new habit.
I don't show this to you. I'm not hiding it. But it's that's just I write down stuff all the time that I'm thinking about or changes I want to make, but I'm not sharing those with other people necessarily. But even with my wife, it's that adds an extra element with our kids, with friends. So We're recording this, I don't know, 2 weeks after the Philip Yancey news came out about Philip Yancey wrote what's so amazing about grace that Jesus never knew. One of the most influential Christian authors in the last 30 years, maybe. Like I think him and Max Lucado were publishing at the same rate for a while. It just came out. He confessed to an 8-year extramarital affair with a married woman. He has Parkinson's disease. So there's all kinds of skepticism around the timing of this confession, which was also filtered through Christianity Today's PR department, which is a whole other separate thing. Like
that needs to be a whole nother podcast, not an episode podcast.
He needs somebody to care for him now. So anyway, one of my resolutions that I wrote in my green book is I want to read more this year and scroll less. So I just finished this book, Zeal Without Burnout by Christopher Ashe, 7 Keys to a Lifelong Ministry of Sustainable Sacrifice. And in it, it's fruit for all believers. But he talks about this, about when people fall in public scandals, and this is applicable to all of our listeners as well. He talks about there's one common thread that runs these, whether it's they're chasing after drugs or alcohol or sexual sin, the absence of close friendships with all the healthy accountability that goes with them ought to have been a warning sign for him, as it should be for us. And he says, let us take care to nurture and sustain such friendships, and all the more so when we serve in contexts where there is much mobility. Thinking about our world now, people come and go, they move, they're here, they're in Charlotte, they're in Asheville, an endless change of people in a church. We forget that we are dust. We are not created to be autonomous, go it along, God-like people. And that's just such an encouragement. And so I just started writing down in the margins of my book all of the pastors, Christian authors, leaders that I've admired over the years, Ravi Zacharias, Stephen Lawson, Philip Yancey, who, as their scandal becomes public, it turns out that nobody really knew who they were. They don't have close friends. They don't have people in their lives. And so as we think about 1,200 steps, I would really encourage our church to think about the communal nature of those, the things you're going to do together with people where there's accountability, there's friendship, because that grow people value here is really rooted in a small group community.
Which really, that doesn't only mean that those steps that do seem individualistic or personal can't be done inside a community.
Certainly.
And that, yes, there is the aspect of Sunday school attendance, of being in a community group, of our Wednesday night groups having a time and being plugged into one of those. Like I even, this is a side note, one of the beautiful stories, someone that grew up inside of church, has served inside of churches, that has served inside student ministries in the past, said, I've never been a part of a women's Bible study because of the judgment that I normally feel like I have there, because I might not know stuff that other people. And she said she went to ours. And she said, I felt welcomed. I felt loved, not based upon the fact of what I knew, but because of the fact that I was there and I was present. And I'm like giddy at 10 o'clock at night, sending that to my ladies leadership, saying, listen, y'all are doing an awesome job. But like, look at those individual steps inside of a community. So to say, hey, I want to read God's word for 5 days in a row. I need someone to hold me accountable. This person over here, close friend, will you do this with me? Will you walk with me through this? So take the individualistic and make them communal.
That's good.
Take the communal aspects of it and make them individualistic. Really, both are needed and necessary for spiritual growth. Any other closing thoughts or anything that you think?
I think the biggest thing, we're after Christ-likeness, not checking a box. I would rather us fall short of this goal and them all be genuine steps that propel us to a lifelong of obedience and humility to Christ that is impossible to quantify, versus we kind of rig this so that we can count all the things to get the goal. And, someone was like, what happens if you fill these up? We gotta get another board. I was like, I don't know, man, but, so I just, if we're more fully formed to the image of the Son Jesus, that's such a huge win. And so that's the goal.
And it's like what you said earlier. It's the ends to the mean.
That's right.
We're about the spiritual growth. As pastors, we can be really guilty of having a lot of ideas. And then our ideas carry us for a season. And then we get ADD and we come with a new idea or a new discipleship tool or a new Bible translation that we think is going to be revolutionary.
Totally.
where we need to see that discipleship is a process, and that growing and growth in our faith is a process. And so I just want to encourage just a slight verse, Micah 6:8. He has told you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God. I pray that is our prayer, that as we are stepping into 2026, whenever this is released, wherever you are as a Christian, that you will do justice, you will love kindness, and you'll walk humbly with your God inside of community, and as you take that next step in your faith. So thank you for joining us for Grace for the Grind. We will see you next time.